Well, g'day folks. Welcome to the penultimate show between the post-season 2022. Yes, the season is fast coming to an end. Thank God for that, some would say. But, we have got a show for you tonight. And joining me, as usual, Tony Neill. How are you, cowboy?
Absolutely sensational, Sean. Can you spell it? Penultimate.
Sean, of course. Penultimate.
All right,
second
penultimate.
last. So we do have one more show after this one, but this is grand final week.
Well, welcome, folks. And we've had 5 or 6 grand finals on the weekend and one to come up this weekend coming, because tonight on the show we've got some fantastic interviews, Sean, that you've done with representatives from both clubs. And it's not just the old, let's interview the coach and get the stock standard questions. You put him under the grill. And then the president, of course, from the other club. And I just sat there riveted. The stuff that goes on in the background, how they put that team together to get the success already that they've had this year is sensational. We've got a Division 7 club coming in who are going somewhere, and we're going to put them under the grill, just find out about past, present, future, what's happened in the past, where they're at now, and of course what they're doing for their vision forward. The team of the year, we'll have a look at that. Always open to conjecture, but you've got so many players. Well, you've got so many players to choose from. Our goals and marks, we're going to have a look at the top 5, so we're coming up to that and we'll adjudicate that next week. And while we're at the start of the show, let's go through, I think this is sensational, our medal winners from every grade.
Yeah, I thought the Adelaide Footy League did a really good job last week in the presentation of the medal counts. A bit difficult. Normally we would have a dinner for Div 1 and Div 2. No dinner this year. I missed that. Free feed, free drink.
Well, you weren't here last week as well, Sean. We understand a little bit under the weather. Barley. Now, I think, folks, that might be code. I've found something.
Yes.
You said you were at Barley, but maybe it's best at league interviews. That's not code for, you're not looking at another coaching gig, are you?
No, I am not.
Best at league interviews, Barley.
No.
Oh,
no.
All right, let's get on to the medals.
Let's move on to the medals, and we'll comment on a couple of them as we go through. First of all, Division 1, Nick Favretto from Goodwood Saints won with 22 votes. He was the one I picked early in the year to win the medal. Tone, who did you go for?
Well, I did mention on the show after 10 games someone's been in the best players. Then I wasn't on the next show, and you said, "Oh, who's that?" And then out came Nick Favretto. So I think we're both on the money there.
Okay, so good judges.
That's good.
Good judges. In Division 2, the Fred Block medal. Of course, Nick won the Keith Sims medal. The Division 2 Fred Block medal. Henry Papatolis went back-to-back.
Sensational. I was a bit sad. I wasn't asked to go out and do the Division 2 this year. I got sacked from that. So, no, not sacked, but just we weren't asked.
Well, I saw an interview online, actually, with Steve Jappy, the footy director, with Henry Papatolis. And what was amazing was he copped a pretty severe knee injury early in the year and kept playing.
Really?
So to win the medal, great effort. Well done.
Fantastic.
The story for mine, though, is Division 3. Tim Davey won his 5th A-grade medal. So his first one was 10 years ago, 2012. Now he plays for the Modbury Football Club.
That's it.
But he's won 5 between Div 2 and Div 3. And in the history of the Adelaide Footy League, there's been only one other player who's won more medals in A-grade footy. There's been another player who won a lot of medals in lower divisions.
Yep.
Peter Adcock from the King's Old Collegians, which are now known as Pembroke, won 6 medals in a row back in the 70s.
Well,
but
Tim,
well done, Tim Davey.
Next year, maybe.
Yeah.
That is, in all seriousness, hard enough to get in the best players. Just one week of a season. But to be the medalist, 5 seasons, like, put that into perspective. In this day and age, with a faster game, the swing man, not the old days where you stay in one position and so on. So, sensational. But
he actually drew, but before I mention that, it's also an outstanding effort because he's a very good cricketer in his own right, so he doesn't have much of a football pre-season. Played for the Redbacks. But he tied with the hard as a cat's head, Jake Pittman from Golden Grove Football Club with 27 votes. So well done to those two fellas. Division 4, Frank Timpano from the Paraka Footy Club.
Yeah, fantastic family. There's a couple of brothers down there, the Timpano brothers, and I saw them a couple of seasons ago at another club doing the pre-season, and their father, very good supporter, well, parents are very good supporters. So great to see Frank. He's an outstanding athlete, getting up and winning that medal. So well done to Frankie there.
Yep, Division 5. I like the fact that a goal kicker wins a medal. No, he kicked 100 goals, leading goal kicker in the whole of the Adelaide Footy League, Ben Haran. But, great to see him get recognised with the medal, along with Daniel Mason from Jets Cross. They tied on 25 votes. So that was Division 5.
And also Jake Mazzoni.
I beg your pardon, from
so
Hectorville Footy Club. Yeah,
three medal winners.
And interestingly enough, those clubs that tied finished first, second and third in the league.
Oh, very good spot.
Yes.
For the JB Dicker medal.
Johnny Dicker, yep, also had an affiliation for a long time with Port Districts Football Club, and he'd be thrilled up there in heaven, big Johnny Dicker, watching the way they've emerged this year. Division 6 medal was won by Patrick O'Day from the Marion Footy Club. He won the A.J. Burt medal. And Division 7 from Green Acres, winning the Ronnie Stennett, who also would be up in heaven overlooking us. Matthew Gibson won it from Green Acres.
All right, and I think it's good that we can go through all the C divisions. We don't mention them very much. It is a footy show, so let's go into it, because you know a few of these players, mate. Carl Siebels won the P. Collins medal from PAOC, of course.
Carl Siebels, state player from Prince Alfred. His brother is in the A grade at the moment in Prince Alfred's Old Collegian side, so well done, Carl.
All right, C2, Scott Sullivan, the J.A. Birchall medal from Athelston.
Of course, the son of Tony Sullivan, who works at the league, so right? If it was close, he was always going to win it, wasn't he?
We won't go into that.
Tony can fix a few votes when no one's looking. Well done, Scotty.
No, won it on his own merits. C3, Joel Vandervelde, the CG Tiedemann medal from Modbury.
Yeah, good A-grade player back in the day as a forward. Joel, well done.
C4, Lockie Wilhelm, the HD Naylor medal from Mitcham. Yeah, you know Lockie?
I don't, but he was lucky. He won the medal with 14 votes, so he's probably the lowest vote getter. I reckon that's
the lowest, and I was going to say before, the triple ones were the three that had the highest. No, sorry, Pittman and Davey with 27 were the highest. So highest and lowest there. C5, James Ramsell, well done young man, won the CC Sando medal from Elizabeth. Do you know James at all?
I don't know. Well done, James.
You might want to venture out to Elizabeth, Sean, and get to know a few of those players out there.
I'm a Westerner.
I'm sure they'd welcome you.
I'm a Westerner, Tone, and I'll always be a Westerner.
All right, C6, Aidan Miguel, the HV Millard medal, Adelaide Lutheran.
Yeah, well done, Aidan. He wins it with 15 votes.
C7, Daniel Golding, the RH Ilix medal, Tea Tree Gully.
Long-time servant of the Tea Tree Gully Football Club, Daniel Golding, would have played a lot of games for Tea Tree Gully, so well done to him.
Now, C8, there's dual winners, Adam Hobber, the D.A. Tottle medal from Flinders Park, and Joshua Spiniello, the medal at Prince Alfred Old Collegians.
Yeah, certainly no. Adam has been a good servant for Flinders Park for years, and Josh Spinello, well done in tying the medal with him with 16 votes from Prince Alfred. That is our comprehensive list of medal winners. We'll be back after a break, and we are going to have a look at what, Tone?
Rip Snorting Show. Jacko, it'll be the wrap-up of the grand finals.
Okay, look forward to that. Grab yourselves something to eat, something to drink, strap yourselves in. We have got a show for you.
G'day guys, the Simon Black Academy is all about education and sport. Our partner in education is Torrens University, where our students either do a one-year diploma course or a 3-year Bachelor of Business. Around that, we run a football and athletic program based here at Norwood Oval, and it's all about trying to develop and take our students' game to a new level. Around that also, our third pillar, besides education and football, is personal development. If you want to get involved, check out our website, which is simonblack.com.au.
Welcome back, folks. Well, it is time for the division wrap, and we're going to start with Division 6 because Division 7 has already been played and won by Green Acres a week ago. So what have you got there, Sean?
Well, the Tossers took all before them all year, didn't they? They don't think they lost a game all year.
20 wins, I think the big celebrations
20 wins.
were.
Them and who's the other club that had 20-0?
Golden Grove, it would
Correct.
have to be.
So Trinity 13-15 won by 45 points over West Croydon 7-6. So well done to the Tossers.
That's it.
Division, yeah, that's it. We move
All
on
right.
quickly, mate.
Division 5, Wakefield Sports Clinic, and Hectorville won the game, 56-79. So what is that? 23 points. What set it up was a 6-goal first quarter. They were then beaten in the last 3 quarters, but it was 6-5 to 7-7. So it was very close. The thing I will say is I went back through, you know what I'm like with numbers and everything, but I went back through the season, and Lockleys had only had, I think, the 1 defeat and Hectorville the 3, but when you go into the ladder, Hectorville had the lowest against points for the year out of anyone in
Best
Division...
defence.
Division 5, and only 3 teams had over 21 shots. There were 2 teams that had 21 shots and 1 at 23. So that would have rang a few alarm bells if I was in the opposition camp, if you like. It's done and dusted now, but there's 4 or 5 coaches. Maybe have a little bit of a look at some of the statistics and say, well, what more may we have done to manufacture, because that is a fantastic defensive effort as well by Hectorville. Well done. They've won the premiership.
Yeah, well, a young playing coach down there, McDonough at Lockleys, may learn. You always learn off your losses, I guess. And everyone said they were the overwhelming favourites, but let's don't discount the fact that they won 1 game each in the minor round, and their first final was pretty close. So no,
exactly.
We say it's a surprise, and it was a surprise. They'll be disappointed, Lockleys, but it wasn't like it was a total reversal of form, was it?
And I'll have very quickly, a little bit of news on their premiership coach from a couple of years ago. I'll bring that up later as well.
Oh, yes, new job on the horizon. Division 4. Well, Pembroke were the side all year, and this year they didn't collapse in the finals. Hallelujah, hallelujah. They're into Division 3. They won by 59 points, so nearly 10 goals. 119 to Hope Valley 60. They kicked 8 goals in the last quarter, brained them in the last quarter. So, well under the Kings, Pembroke Kings. Fancy calling yourself the Kings.
Got a mighty song down there, Sean. I reckon I've mentioned it about 10 times, but well, you might be sitting next to someone who actually introduced that song to the club.
I've never heard that before.
Hoping that it's been sung many a time along the Richmond theme.
Right.
But we've changed a few words.
On the back of the fact that we've had a change of King and Queen this week.
Yeah, well, I was looking all that up this week.
Right, yes. You would have been. Okay, Div 3. What do you got in Div 3?
Leave a little bit of that alone, but Division 3, sip and save. Would you be sipping and saving? I'll tell you what, winning a premiership. Golden Grove, well, didn't they have a very good win, 62 to 11 over Edwardstown. The only interesting thing that I pulled out of that, they kicked 9 goals 8 and Edwardstown 1 goal 5. They only had 4 goal scorers in that 9 goals 8, with Max Kozlik kicking 4, Lewis Johnson 2, of course ex-AFL Sample, Mitchell McKelvey with 2, and Joel Horskins with 1. So only 4 goal scorers in that team. So now, there we are.
What do you think about this? My young nephew played in the Gold Grove side, and he was captured on social media with 20-0 tattooed on his forehead.
That. Yes.
Now, Aidan, I'm just not sure whether you got to keep it. Can you take the lid off when you win a premiership?
Was it a tattoo? Was it like the Hangover?
Is it a permanent tattoo, Aidan?
No.
Oh, it's just a removal one.
You could have it here and here.
Right, okay, 20-0.
No, live it up. They're very hard to come by. But you and I actually might have a little discussion about that later on when we're doing the Division 1, because you know yourself, we've both been in that position. It is so hard to come by.
Yeah, all right.
So hard to come by.
Have a couple of drinks and enjoy yourself. Righto, what's next? Division 2.
Yeah.
Well, this was a close game. This was probably the closest game of the finals. At quarter time, Sacred Heart led by 3 points. At half time, they led by 2 points. And at 3/4 time, they led by 3 points. But Broadview came home in the last quarter to win 7-11 to 6-5, so 12-point margin. Disappointing for Sacred Heart that Tristan Karkuro, who I rate as the best forward in the competition, wasn't able to play, didn't get up from the hammy. But a good win by Broadview. Puts both of those clubs into Division 1, and bit of news on that later in the show too, so stay tuned for that. That is our Around the Grounds.
Stay tuned, because we're going to cover Division 1 in just a moment. Welcome back, folks. So Division 1, Sean, the big televised game, of course, and Goodwood Saints came out okay. They were 2 points up at quarter time. Prince Alfred then got running 6 points, 10 points at three-quarter time. Then they kicked the 8 goals to win by 57 points in the end. Very quickly, Will Delwood, again, the centre-half back, Trengove, Buckham, Larson and Wildman in the best. And I did notice 7 goal scorers. What can you tell us about the game?
Well, I guess we were looking to see whether we would get a reaction from Goodwood Saints, first of all, on the back of their poor performance the previous week against Port Districts. And they're a proud footy club. You know, they haven't lost 2 games in a row all season, so we expected to see a reaction, and we got a reaction. They came out firing. The first quarter was terrific footy from both sides, nothing in it at quarter time. I think the bigger ground suited PAC more than it suited Goodwood Saints, and the longer the game went, the more that was put on display. And PAC just seemed to grind them in the ground. Very hard to run with some of the athletes in the Prince Alfred side. Trengove, McNamara, I could go on and on and on. But we expected a reaction from Goodwood Saints. We got it. They just weren't good enough to be able to hang on in all sincerity. But credit goes to PAC. They've won 3 in a row. They're into the big dance again.
And well done, Goodwood. Look, they've been up there for the last few years. So, someone's got to get through and someone doesn't. So well done to them. Very well run club. We're going to have a look at some statistics, and when that chart comes up, a couple of things. I guess I'll look at the macros and you can look at the individual stuff, but I noticed the kicks was only 19 extra to PAC, but the handballs were 41. So a huge amount extra in the handballs. Inside 50s, 38 to 50. So that's 12 more times to PAC, of course, but the scoring shots. So 38 times inside 50, there was only 8 scoring shots. So they're running at 25%. PAC had 50 inside 50s, 25 scoring shots, so they're running at 50%. So 25 versus 50 is a fair discrepancy. We know a couple might just roll through and be touched through, but just looking at that macro.
I'll just touch on 2 of those stats because as we call the game, we actually mentioned that several times, Goodwood Saints, and I do ask Craig Pitt in the interview with him whether he thought it was by design or by fatigue. But watching the game, it was clear to me that Goodwood Saints didn't take the game on. The longer the game went, they played a kick-mark game, and that's reflected in the stats. So I think that'd be the learnings for them. Obviously, there's no game next week, but that'd be the learning going forward, that you've got to continue to take the game on, particularly as it starts to slip from your grasp. I felt they started to play safe and didn't take the game on, and that's reflected in that. And the difference in scoring opportunities from inside 50s, well, Will Dowwood, you mentioned him, best player, he reads the play exceptionally well. Sides have got to find a way to enter without being in Will's direction because he's such a thorn in opposition forwards.
And we're going to come to you in a moment, Sean, because the other bit that was interesting, Goodwood had 26 extra unforced turnovers. So the pressure was there. So a couple of individual
I guess we set the bar pretty high for Jack Trengove because last year he won everything, so you tend to mark him a bit harder as a result. And I think we've seen that this year. Didn't poll as well in the medal this year as he did, obviously, in winning it last year. But let me tell you, his finals form has been sensational. We know that he's been a difficult player to run with, and Goodwood tried Mason Ellis on him early in the game. They tried a few different blokes over the course of the game, but let's consider a couple of things. He's currently training for a marathon, so he's running 3 extra training sessions on top of his football training sessions. The man is a running machine. He had 40 touches on the weekend. Now, they weren't all effective, but it was the sort of game where not all your touches are going to be effective anyway because of the pressure. Mind you. But no other player on the ground had more than 30, and he had 40. Goodwood Saints had 2 players that had more than 20 touches. Prince Alfred had 5. The coach himself, Craig Pitt, was the second leading possession winner on the ground with 29. Trengove had 40, and I think Nick Favretto had 27.
Just going to ask about the medalists, how he went. So we can always look at those charts, and we thank Dartfish for the charts and filming footy, of course, to put together the statistics and cut the vision. So fantastic to get into that.
Sorry, Tone, just one thing. We need to also address this, and that is that Jack Trengove gets it done defensively as well as offensively. So as well as having 40 touches, he has had 54 tackles over the 3 games. 13 tackles.
4 weeks, I think it was. Over 4 weeks,
this week will be 4 weeks. So that's 54 over 3. He's had 13 tackles to go with his 40 touches on the weekend. So good luck to whoever gets the job of running with Jack Trengove this Saturday.
Oh, I'd be worn out just going through the banner with him. Jeez. No, very good. And that leads us into, very quickly, the big grand final this week, the only one now in the Adelaide Footy League. Port District versus Prince Alfred. We're going to have a buddy bet on it.
Right.
I'm down a little bit, but I think I might have got a couple back on last game. But Port District versus Prince Alfred at Norwood Oval. Pair of thongs. I've got one size 11, one size 9 for you because I'm not running too well. But first of all, give us why you think Port District will win. You haven't got the top on tonight, I know.
No. Well, a couple of things. First of all, I know that you'd want to identify with the Spooners because you've got that cultured voice and you spent some time with the Spooners of the world.
Don't make it personal, mate.
Whereas I'm just a poor Westerner and I identify with the working class man tone. So I am going for Port Districts on that basis alone. I think it's a Cinderella story coming from outside of the 5 to the grand final this year. I think everything has fallen their way. Why do they win? They win because they're fresh, they're hungry. It's 30 years since their last Division 1 premiership, and go the Dizzy boys!
Jeez, I'll tell you what, we got forwarded. I thought it was going to be a couple of paragraphs. It turned into a novel, a book, didn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to say something else then, longer than many books that we've read in the past. But fantastic to see the history behind Port District.
Yep.
But that won't matter when you run out on the ground on Saturday across that white line, because awaiting you is Prince Alfred. And I think the boys, they've played in a couple of grand finals in recent times. They know how to win it. They've got good structure, and I think their fitness. I was talking before with someone. The Port District guys are big, hefty, muscly guys, a fair few of them. But who are the first to sink in the Navy SEALs when you throw them in the water? So I think Prince Alfred are going to welcome them to the pool and say, jump in, boys, and we're going to sink you. And I think Prince Alfred, which you alluded to, that finish on the weekend with 8 goals, they come in as winners. They come in firing on all cylinders. And get up there, Prince Alfred. Come on, have a go.
Peter Gaffney was the one who sent that stuff in about Port Districts too. He's got 3 lads playing in the side, so he's allowed to send as much stuff in as he likes.
For sure. Yep.
Played in the last premiership for Port District, so he would be pretty excited. The old Gaffney family. And just going back on your last point, was this a debate we're allowed to...
No, just this is our buddy bet, but it's certainly not a
well,
buddy bet,
I'm just going to
is it?
say that Sean Baker's the fitness coach out of Port Districts, and he prides himself on his work, so I don't think fitness will be a problem for Port Districts this week either.
Oh, well, he won't be out there when the siren goes on Saturday as well. He probably will be around the area.
Let's hope it's a cracking game, mate.
All the best to both. At Norwood Oval as well, isn't it? So a little bit tighter and thinner, and that's maybe where Port's physicality can come in.
Number one defence all year, Port Districts. So they'll choke the Prince Alfred Old Collegian. They
will run like a ferret after a rabbit, mate. They will chase all day long and they'll be burnt out. Anyway, that's it for Division 1 and looking forward to a huge game. Back in a moment. Well, folks, we're down here at the Banner Crew. Our friend, supporter and sponsor of Between the Posts has joined us. Welcome, Jason Goods.
Thanks, Tony. Nice to be with you.
What can the people out there expect to buy from the Banner Crew and get looked after?
Pretty much anything that you can put your club logo on or a message from the club, whether it be, like you mentioned, a marquee or a flag or an A-frame or a banner, a stubby holder, a pen, anything like that, anything that you can pop the club branding on. Everything's customisable. So basically we've got an in-house design department with 2 graphic designers that can work toward getting the message across that you're after.
We're down here at 318 to 326 St Vincent Street, Port Adelaide. Jason, thank you so much for your support.
Well, folks, the pinnacle of the Adelaide Footy League season is nearly upon us. This Saturday, the grand final of Division 1 awaits. 2 sides, well, from completely contrasting backgrounds. 1, the Silver Spooners from the eastern suburbs. 2, the Wharfies from the west. Joining me now is the coach of the Silver Spooners, Craig Pitt. How are you, Pitty?
Very well, thank you.
Is that still a common term that gets associated?
We get similar things, yeah. Normally it gets brought up every now and then, yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story. I coached St Michael's many years ago, and I used that as a pre-match first 18s. about we're playing the Spooners, and not one kid knew the expression. So I thought it may have dropped from our vernacular. I'm pleased it's still here.
Yes, no, I think we just got used to hearing it, so it doesn't actually offend us at all anymore.
We've got to come up with something different.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, mate, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
back-to-back opportunity.
Yes, very different teams, obviously, from last year, but it's always hard to get yourself into a grand final, let alone have the opportunity 2 years in a row. So,
well, let's touch on
exciting.
that. Fair turnover in personnel from last year. How many players did you actually lose from the grand final or the premiership side?
I can't exactly remember. I think it was about eight or nine, or something like that. Yeah,
your whole forward line, wasn't it?
Most of our forward line, a couple of our defenders as well. A couple of guys have gone on to play league footy this year.
Yeah.
Tyson Brazel obviously potentially playing in a grand
North
final
Adelaide,
at North Adelaide next weekend, which would be exciting for him too. So, we had some people going to state, and then we lost a couple even during this year. Ned Murdoch was one of them, got job opportunity up in Queensland, so he went up there. Cam Giles is injured, but he also moved to Melbourne halfway through the year with work. So we've definitely had a fair bit of turnover happen, which is great for them in their careers, but
unsettling for you.
Yeah, not ideal for our football.
Well, talk to me. I'm not sure what round it was, but I reckon it might have been about round 6, 7. You were looking a bit ordinary, and there was thought, not from you, obviously, because I know you're super confident, but from people around your club, no names, who thought, geez, we are going to be in a battle to avoid relegation. Did that ever enter your head?
Not really. I wasn't ever concerned at the halfway point because I think the competition stayed so even.
Yeah.
So the answer is, it was obviously a factor and you couldn't hide away from it, but the other side of it was we were always looking ahead and we're not that far away from the top teams in this competition because there were only 2 wins above us at the same time. So I think that's how the season ended, really. It came down to the last round with relegation and getting into finals and things like that, so it's great.
Cast your mind back, I'm not sure how many weeks ago, mate, but I'm going to say 4 or 5 when you played PAOC at home.
We are PAOC.
Sorry, when you played Port Districts at home.
Yeah.
What a ripping game.
Yeah, quite a finish in the end, wasn't it?
Fantastic. We've had some finals this year that have been blowouts. Your performance, we'll talk about that in a minute, on the weekend was one of those. You was tight for a quarter and a half and then you blew them out of the water. But that game against Port Districts, well, that was an absolute beauty. That was probably one of the best games of the year, I felt. Yeah,
well, hopefully we can have something similar this week. Obviously, as a player, it's great playing in the tight contest. You obviously want to be on the winning end rather than the losing end, but I think that's the sort of football games you really enjoy, especially as you get on a bit older and you like those tight contests when the heat's really on. I think that's what you embrace the most. But it was a really good game to be involved in. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get over the line, but it was a really good game.
So your record against Port Districts this year is...
We haven't beaten them yet.
Zip 2? Okay. A wise man told me recently that the winner of the elimination final goes on and wins the premiership. Now, that wise man was tied up with St. Peter's, and it's easy for them to say that because they finished 5th.
Yeah, they finished 5th, actually.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I mean now they finished 5th. You finished 5th at the end of the minor round, but they have now finished 5th.
Sorry, AJ.
So he thought that the winner of that, now you've got to play 4 games to win it.
Yep.
You've played 3.
Yep.
How are the boys handling the workload?
Quite good, I think. We haven't really had... It's probably the most continuity we've had in our team all year, the last 4 weeks.
Unchanged?
Unchanged the last 3 finals. We've been unchanged for all of them. So I think that in itself has been a positive, and obviously you get the extra man on the bench, which helps with load management during games and stuff like that too. So we've avoided heavy grounds as well. We haven't had too much rain on the weekend. So I think from that physical perspective, we're not using any excuses or anything like that. I mean, it's lovely to have a week off every now and then and refresh, but we didn't have that luxury, so we're not going to worry about it.
Where does Craig Pitt play this week? I remember it might have been that game against Port Districts where I was singing into the commentary box, will Craig Pitt put himself forward for God's sake? All your talent, your high-end talent, was in the back half of the ground. And you're screaming for you to go forward, and you went forward and made a big difference. Where will you start this week, or we keep that quiet?
No, I probably won't start forward, I don't think. We've had a fair different personnel turnover since that game. I think we had a few guys out that week as well.
So Hurd,
Hurd and Hugo Kelly is the other young kid we've got down there as well. So I'm hoping they can get it done for us instead of me having to
okay.
try my best. I don't think I was the difference. I think I was just lucky it started coming down there a bit more, maybe.
Now, you probably get sick of answering questions about this bloke, but I've got to do my job and ask you this question because clearly I didn't want to give him best on ground on the weekend, but I had no option. It was either him or Will Doward.
Yeah.
But Jack Trengo's game was amazing on the weekend, and his form right through the final series has been amazing.
Yep.
The Dartfish stats each week say he gets over 10 to a dozen tackles a week.
Yep.
Last year he won everything. He won the medal, best on ground in the grand final, you won the premiership. Yep. How's his year been this year in comparison to last year?
Well, from our point of view, it's still been fantastic. I think everybody's expectation probably gets set higher when you see him play at this level for a year or two and get used to what he does. And I think that's just the normal for him. I think that's what can happen. It doesn't stand out as much.
Yep.
But from our point of view, he's still been super, and obviously it gets highlighted more in finals when there's more eyes on, less games. But he certainly does rise to the occasion, and he enjoys the battle and the tussle of it, and enjoys the competitive nature. He's a competitive person, as most of his family are. So I think he just enjoys playing finals. He probably was starved of it for a lot of his career there for a while. Yeah. So I think now that he's in the back end of it, he knows that they don't come around all the time. So no, he's been fantastic.
Could you ask him this week to wear coloured boots or something? Because when you're calling the game, you and him actually look alike from a distance, and so does the skipper. I know he's a little bit shorter.
Yeah, right.
But
he's a lot faster than us.
But I'm always amazed. I see Trengo in the back pocket, and the next minute he's in the forward pocket, and I'm thinking, good luck having the job running with him. I know Goodwood Saints tried it on the weekend. Do Port Districts normally play a run with player in their team?
I'm not sure. I mean, that's up to them. I know that they have Gaffney, I think, who's done a job on Favretto a couple of weeks ago when I was watching that game. So whether he goes to someone potentially, I'm not sure. That's up to them to decide. We don't worry too much about that part of it. We just try to get our own
house in order,
selves ready before a big game.
So health of our players, are you confident you're going with the same group, or have you got anyone else to come in that's been missing?
Hopefully similar group,
Right.
I don't think we'll get anybody back from injury. Obviously Cam Giles we lost, who's our captain normally. We lost him at Goody Saints a few weeks ago, and he won't be coming back. And then a couple of other guys that played in our premiership team won't be playing this week either. Riley Robertson, another one who hurt himself against Goody Saints in the first round.
Yeah, he's a good player
games.
too,
And Tom Humphreys obviously did his ACL before the season, so no, they're the only guys that would potentially come back in without much football under their belt, but no, they won't be playing.
Got to ask you about Tom Bartlett.
Yep.
He hung the boots up, threw them in the dam, and then decides to come back and play C grade after pre-season.
No, he didn't play C grade.
Didn't play any C grade?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought he played C grade.
No, straight in.
Straight into the A's. You are a nice coach. No wonder I'm no longer surviving as a coach if you can do things like that.
Yeah. Well, he won the goal kicking last year, so you can't really deny that he's not a good player.
No, that's right. Okay.
No, it actually happened over a few wines at one of our sponsors, Wicks Estates.
Right.
One of our friends got married, and it was more his wife. She was having their second child, which was great. But that was the cut-off point for him playing football. And we actually made the deal then that he'd play at least 4 games.
Right.
And,
what did he play in the minor round? How many did he get?
I think he played 5 or 6 in the end.
Okay,
yeah. So we got through more in our deal than we bargained for, which was lovely. But no, it's great to have him back. He's just an energy around the club. He still loves football. He still wants to play. So
I love the aggro that he brings to your team. For a bloke who's not built well, if he played back in the 80s, he wouldn't have lasted a quarter. But he has that little bit of spunk in him, and he likes pushing people around. And one of the things I called the game on Saturday, he took a ball clean as a whistle under real heat. And I said, that's what separates the real good from the not so good. His ability to take the ball cleanly is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, he can do things that just happen out of nothing, can make things happen, which... Yeah. Not many players have the luxury of doing. I definitely don't. Yeah. Not blessed with that skill, so it's nice to have him back in the team and watch him do it. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Now, Port Districts, do you prepare any differently for them than you would against Goodwood Saints? Do you think the Oval, Norwood Oval, versus the bigger ground of Richmond has any bearing on this week's game?
It definitely changes things slightly. I think it's just more being aware of it than changing a game style, game plan. I don't think you change your game plan every oval, otherwise you'd be chopping and changing every week. But yeah, it's just a bit narrower and a bit shorter, I guess, than Richmond. Richmond's one of the biggest ovals in Adelaide, and probably showed with the scoring that both teams hadn't played on an oval that big for a long time.
Yeah.
It was really low scoring for the first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
So getting that extra kick in, where Norwood, you probably don't need to worry about that so much.
It appeared watching the game on Saturday that the first quarter, the energy from both sides was terrific, and we expected to see a response from Goodwood Saints, who are a proud club, on the back of what had happened the previous week, and we got that. And then it was either they tied or you blokes were physically in front of them, but they just didn't take the game on. And the longer the game went, they went into a kick mode, and I was trying to work out watching the game whether that was the pressure you blokes put on or whether they were just starting to struggle a little bit. How did you see it out on the ground?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really have the answer, I guess. I think we just worry about winning and keep doing what we're doing because it was working at the time in that last quarter. We definitely got some good centre clearances. They're very important close games last quarter. Pressure's obviously on. So we got a couple of good clearances at the start of that quarter and got a couple of goals on, and then it's just sort of rolled on from there. So whether they got tired or whether it was just one of those things where you get on a roll and it just seems to keep happening, and they just couldn't stem it potentially, but. Yeah,
you certainly rolled over the top of them. What does Saturday night look like? Are you
Havelock Hotel?
Havelock Hotel was it? Yeah, okay. The major sponsor.
Our major sponsor now. So we having our club rooms built as we speak, which is lovely. But we won't be able to do any functions or anything there. But we'll have new change rooms next year, which will be great.
That have a licensed facility in it?
Yes, but only to a certain hour, which is quite early.
Perhaps a little bit like old Iggy set up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably similar to that. Yep.
That'd be ready next year?
Next season, start next season, which I think both us as a home club and the away clubs that play in our change rooms at the moment we're very happy with. They're not quite up to standard, I wouldn't say. So that will be exciting. But no, the Havelock Hotel's been great to us this year. So
great.
I imagine we'll all head back there and.
Good. I look forward to Jimmy Parkinson buying us a beer in the club rooms next year. Pity, it's been a very good year for you, and almost at the fairy tale stage. To come from 5th to win a premiership would be an awesome effort. To go back to back and become the first college side to do it would also be a terrific effort. We wish you all the best on Saturday. I've got to declare my allegiance, mate. I'm a Western Suburbs boy. I'll be supporting the Wharfies, but I also appreciate the fairy tale that is Prince Alfred Old Collegians, mate. Thanks for coming in.
No, thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Well, folks, we've just heard from the coach of the Silver Spooners, and to defend present the opposition argument, I've invited Craig Brown, the president of Port Districts, to come in and have a chat. How are you, Craig?
Good, thanks, Jacko.
Good to have you, mate.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for inviting me.
Big week for the club this week. I know you bowed out in the B's and C's on the weekend, but you must be super excited. First grand final in 28 years.
28, yep. Yeah. First grand final in 30 years for a premiership. So
unbelievable.
It was a bit disappointing we couldn't have all 3 grades play, but we come up against some good opposition. So the A grade's the big one, obviously.
Well, you must be pleased about the way the club's travelling this year. It must be all chicken pink.
Absolutely.
Did you, in your wildest dreams, when you stepped on, because you always think you're going to win it, don't you? You always think you're a chance to win it. But let's go back. You've been the president now for 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
And you've been on the committee and coached juniors.
Yep.
When you came into the start of this year, how did you think? I know you got some new recruits and that, but were you extremely confident at the start of this year?
We set a bit of a plan, and the plan probably started a few years ago under Simon Madden and Damien Angove.
Yep.
So Simon was our coach for 4 years. First year we got knocked out in the first elimination. And then the next 2 years we only just missed the finals.
Yeah.
A few things didn't go our way. There was 1 year we lost 5 games by under 6 points. So we were sort of around the mark until last year. Last year we didn't go too well, as you know. For a while there we were fighting relegation.
Yeah.
But we set some plans in place that Simon let us know about halfway through the year that he wasn't going to go on next year. So the planning sort of started July last year for how we were going to reset and try and plan for this year.
Yep.
And it was things from, the committee's in a really strong position. The club's is well managed and well organised behind the scenes. And we sort of set out to look for an SANFL, someone fresh out of the system.
Yep.
And come with a fresh SANFL game plan.
Yeah, sure.
So that's what we sort of set our sights for. And we advertised, and Josh came along, and I put a panel together with myself and Darren Hawkins, Vice President, Jeremy Clayton and Rowan Smith.
Who's the runner this year for you, Jeremy? It's a good get
He's
too.
been pretty handy as a runner.
Not too lippy either as a runner, because he was a bit lippy when he played, wasn't he?
Oh, he likes to sneak the odd comment out here and
Does
there.
he?
Yeah. So we put a few things in place. Another thing was we wanted to improve our fitness and improve our injury management. So we brought in Sean Baker from Peak Fitness. He started working on a plan sort of October, November. Excuse me. And we brought a physio in as a sort of a package deal with that, because we were getting a lot of soft tissue injuries. So this year we've stamped that out pretty much. A couple of bone injuries, but really minimised the amount of soft tissue injuries. Josh brought in one of his assistants from West Adelaide, Rick Kelly. I brought in Lee Whitehorn, who was previously involved in the club. He played juniors, played footy there, was a B-grade coach years ago, but had spent the last 6 years up with the Brisbane Lions.
Okay.
So had been working with Brad Hodge and Fagan in the academy side. So he wanted to come back to the club, so I brought him in and sort of paired him with Josh and Rick Kelly, and then you had Sean Baker and a physio, and so really put the grounding there. And Josh is, he's a great communicator. Yeah. As Simon was, but just that fresh SANFL experience, I think, has really brought a lot to the group. And then obviously a few recruits, a few key position players. And
yeah, I just want to talk to you about your recruiting, because where you're positioned geographically, every club has its challenges, whether you're surrounded by other Division 1 clubs. In your case, you're not surrounded by other Division 1 clubs as such. You've got North Haven not too far away, who are on the improve, no question, as a footy club. So where you are, you can only attract people so far that will want to drive so far. So you're not a central-based club, so you really need to attract people who live on the western side of the city. Yep. Do you have any players that travel a long way to play for you?
Benny Millman's the only one. He's not local. Okay. He lives down south, and he had a contact with Josh and Josh's dad through the Cove Footy Club.
Okay.
So that's how that came about. He's played under Josh before, played with Josh before, years ago. So he was the only one that's not really a local. The rest of them are all locals. They're either ex-juniors or they're like Sam and Tom Gray are best mates with Jason Niskus and Trent Heff. Yeah. And Sam and Tom wanted to play together. So Sam could have got a gig at any SANFL club he wanted, but he really wanted to play with his brother, and he wanted his family to have like a home club.
Be easier for Grub to only have to go one game rather than two.
Yeah, exactly. It was. And Cooper Gaffney come back, he's an ex-junior. He brought Smush with him, they're best mates. So that was sort of a package deal. Dale Pearce is an ex-junior and had been on our list for a couple of years. So wasn't really getting a favourable sort of ride at the Eagles. So he decided to, instead of being our backup club, us as our backup club, to him, decided to snatch it from the Eagles and come and play with us full time. So a few cards fell the right way, and and then you got Jason Niskus that the last 3 years has been injured, permanently injured. Yeah, he's played the whole season
and had a very good year.
And had a very good year, finished in the top 10 in the medal camp. Yep. So that's like a new recruit.
Makes the team of the year.
Oh, really?
Yes. Well, that's a scoop. We'll run with that later in the show. But yes, he's in the team of the year. So another bloke that I think was been as good a player as he's been in the Adelaide Footy League for a period of about 5 or 6 years, Trent Heffernan.
Yep.
He left the side to go away, and then I think he realised grass is not always green on the other side.
A lot of these guys sometimes get lured away to the country, and it was something he wanted to do, and he wanted to relinquish the captaincy and just go and play footy somewhere without the burden of having that on him. And he was a young captain at the club too, and did a fantastic job. Yeah. But just wanted to go on and play footy away from where he was getting the hard tag and he had the captaincy on his shoulders. Yep. Went to Newry, had a bit of a rough patch with injury, did his shoulder, had to go in for a shoulder op at the end of the season. But yeah, he was part of, getting him back was a huge push, and also a big reason why, we have Scotty Lycett training with us, regularly when he's coming back from injury.
Yeah.
And that's because him and Hef
You
are
fit
best
him in
mates.
next year if he
I
decides
reckon we could struggle. We'd fit him in, yeah.
Nick Hales, if you're watching this show, you're probably the only bloke I'd say you goose left the club and went and played in the Barossa this year. I reckon he'll be there on Saturday having a couple of sherbies thinking, why did I do it?
Yeah, well, he was floating around last weekend.
Was he? Yeah.
The last, the prelim we played Goodies at home.
What is Sean McInerney going to do this week? You play at Nord Oval. Every home game he sets his car up on the street behind, Luke's dad.
Yeah.
He must do that Friday night to get that position every week.
Well, he gets there pretty early. I don't know if it's Friday night.
Saturday morning, is it?
But he's there early on a Saturday.
Where will he be at Nord?
No idea.
All right, Craig, so your record against Prince Alfred has been terrific. You've won both games. The last game was an outstanding game of footy. If we can duplicate that this Saturday, we will put the Adelaide Footy League on the map. So can you pass on to the players that we want a close game, we want it to go down to the siren, we want the Wharfies to get up, but what's it look like after the game? What's the club got planned for Saturday night?
So we've organised some buses to leave from the club and go to the game. A couple of buses leave
for
from...
supporters?
For supporters, yeah. And then obviously come back to the club. We've got some marquees and we're advertising a bit of a shindig. Hopefully we're celebrating. I think, look, there's a lot of reasons to celebrate in general, whether we're grand premiers or we lose it, which I hope we don't. But there's a lot to celebrate about what's happened with the year anyway. So hopefully a big night back at the club regardless. But and I don't want it to be too close either. I'd prefer it if it wasn't too close. I don't know if the heart can take it. So.
One thing someone said to me today was that the people on the peninsula tend to stick together.
Yep.
We know that.
Yep.
So I think there'll be a really big support basis for Port Districts this year, with the Portlands and the North Havens all getting along and provide a bit of support. Is there any thought about loading up one area, the eastern side, or the pocket where the bar is at Nord, or we just let everyone sit where they are?
Yeah, we haven't thought too much about that, about where the supporters are going to hang out on the ground. I think we'll just let them spread around and I'm sure we'll have a massive supporter base there.
Yeah.
Because, we have, with our Largs legends and just general members and, with the Bs and Cs not playing and the Ds, our C7s, we'll have a heap of lads there supporting the boys, so it should be great.
Well, Craig, we want to wish you all the best. You know I'm on the wagon. I put the Guernsey on last week when I came down and chatted to the Gaffney boys. I didn't
Great
know...
interview, by the way.
Thanks. I actually didn't know at the time, and this is a good story, that Mitchell, Jack and Cooper's dad, Pete, played in the last premiership side.
Yeah.
What a story.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I didn't know that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Look, it's been refreshing this year to see a few different sides in the top five. Traditionally it's been Payneham and Ross Trevor, and this year, well, not only did they miss out, they're both getting relegated. And to see the emergence of Port Districts, it's been a joy to watch, to be honest with you. We all get excited by seeing the new kid on the block, so to speak.
Yep.
And I know Mads has done a great job. I totally respect Simon and his coaching ability, but it's been great to watch your journey this year, and we want to wish you all the best for Saturday, Craig, and I hope it goes well. And here's a pair of Archie thongs, because I know people down the peninsula don't wear shoes. If you wear them, will you promise to wear them with socks?
Absolutely. Coloured ones.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Jacko.
All
Appreciate
the best.
it. Thanks for having me.
welcome back, folks. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have our next array of guests in, and it's coaching panel, committee, administration from the Flinders Uni Division 7 Football Club, but they've got an amazing story. We're going to talk about past, present and what's happening in the future. I'm going to introduce the guests and I'll get them to name their own surnames, because you'll see I've got a bit of trouble with the old tongue getting my name around, and with all due respect. So our senior co-coach, first of all, Aaron
Cesarico.
Thank you. Senior co-coach number 2 playing, Rafe
Cesarowitz.
So a little bit of a different spin on there. Our club president, Talia
Ferreira.
Is that correct? Club president?
Yes.
Correct, yes. And our women's coach,
David Cooch.
Okay, fantastic. So let's get into it. The season proper, I guess I'll come to you first, Aaron. 1-8, lost 9, played in the elimination final, but there's a bit of a story to the run home as well.
Yeah, well, we set out early and started pre-season in November of last year, and being new coaches who'd coached in the B grade at Flagstaff Hill, got to a grand final and take the next step up. Naturally, as coaches, you want to play and go coach in an A grade club. So we did that. We implemented a lot of structures with our club. Right. It was a big year of education. Structure footy was foreign to some of our boys, or a lot of them, and we took a lot of these young boys and melded them in terms of how we play structured football. So we knew it was going to be a slow burn. We set the expectations in terms of, let's set some 3-week goals. By the middle of the year, we want to be across structures and implementing them to a certain degree. Our boys did it a lot quicker, testament to their effort and their desire. So we came from 2-8, and we've had a run home of 8-10 to lose in an elimination final to Houghton by 7 points. So we're very impressed with our young fellas did. We had, I think it was 10 out of our 22 that were under the age of 22. Yep. And the development's coming on well.
So that's interesting. So I'll just stick with the 2 coaches for the moment, because if you can measure it, you can monitor it. You've got an off-field coach and you've got an on-field coach. And I was listening to an ex-AFL coach recently said it takes 6 months just to implement the back 6 to get their clearances right. So it's a mammoth job to come in with some new ideas, to hang on to what you inherited, but giving players something to hold on to and a purpose to their training with the game plan and a purpose to playing obviously has paid dividends, and that's going to help you moving down the track. What were some of the methods that you utilised, I guess, through the season and on the ground as well?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I started at full forward, and it took probably 3 or 4 rounds to sort of move myself back to half back. Basically, to help implement the defensive structures first. So we wanted to get the defensive aspects of the game right first. So that included set up, proactive sort of movement, and we struggled a fair bit at the start of the year with that transition from defence to offence. Yep. So essentially our centre-half forward went back to centre-half back. I went back to a half-back flank.
So moved them all back.
And then our centre-half back went forward, and our other backman went forward as well. So that was just to shore up with the old heads behind the footy a little bit more. And we identified early that our transition game wasn't really there, and we were turning the ball over quite a fair bit coming out of D50. So we looked to shore that up and implement. We had a couple of structures we kind of like to work in shapes a little bit, and getting those shapes right behind the footy definitely paid off towards the end of the year. So
was that an interesting discussion between non-playing and playing coach, first of all, and allowing that to happen, but seeing, this is a bit about that vision, seeing that what can happen if we do that, get the backline structures right and the transition.
Well, I guess really that's one of the things there, Tony. It's more like we use a lot of different tools. So we thanks to Dartfish, you're our number 1 resource for giving us all the footage of the game, so we can do homework on all of the teams. Right. But we used our slices of that video to educate our own players through social media platforms, and we've spotted out what we did well, was always constructive, and then this is what we need to work on. So we realised at one stage we were getting opened up pretty hard on one side of the ground, and we needed to figure out a way around that. So what we'd initiated with structures was the way we taught the boys, and we said, look, we quite realised that we had a little bit more development to do with our young group, so we morphed our structures into a different shape, and we retaught and we re-educated, and we made sure the boys were across it to the point that they knew it off by heart.
Yeah,
and that was
fantastic.
and that was a lot of authentic type structuring.
Yep.
We did look at press work that we'd done in other clubs, but a lot of it was our own design. And I guess when you're an A grade coach, you got that opportunity then to sort of form your own plan, which is what we wanted to do. That's why we became A grade coaches.
So we talk about footy IQ, and I'll come across to Talia and Dave, because Dave, you were the A grade coach there through, we talked about the past. So there was the print up that you guys sent me. There were a couple of 200-point losses there, and the primary focus, you could just sit back and say, okay, this is where we sit, and this is our lot in life. Or you can say, let's be proactive. And what was the primary focus? First of all, to move the club forward, I guess from 2018 just to this point, and we'll come to the future in a moment. How did that work?
Well, do you want to talk about the 2018 season?
Well, 2018, that was a tough year. We lost every game. We ended up on front page of the paper. The community with that, the support from the community was immense. We picked up, I don't know how many, probably 10 or a dozen players just from 30, 40-year-olds just coming out of the blue, just come and help. And they loved the club, and they hung around for 2, 3, 4 years, and they loved it for a reason. The culture, the people, the camaraderie of the boys, irregardless of the winning or losing, they still hung tight together, and that was really good. Like, we started off pretty poor. The back end of the season, we were winning quarters. We got to within 10 points of Houghton at Houghton, which is always tough.
Yeah, win moments.
After they beat us by 20 goals in the first time. So small achievements, small goals, and then from there the club's really built. The culture has stayed. The guys are still held, and they've been able to bring some extra resources in, which has been immense. So credit to the committee and everyone around.
All right, and Talia, the challenges you face as a university club, and how have you sought to overcome them? And I think one of them, as you've said there, the players just all of a sudden success breeds success, so they start to come to you.
Well, 2018 was a really interesting season because although they were losing every single game and we really struggled with numbers, the boys still went out there every single week, held their heads up high, and still played every single game without forfeiting, which I think was quite inspiring. It was also really important for our women's side as well, because that season really, for us, emphasised the importance of our women's side. The club would have folded without a women's that season.
Wow.
So it was really important for us to see that shift as well. I think a big misconception we have with the the university club is you don't have to be a university student to play for Flinders. So a bit of exposure, talking about our members and our playing group, it goes a long way with that as well.
All right, we've spoken a little bit about the coaching structure. I'm interested in the culture and environment, which you've spoken a little bit about, which we think off-field is fantastic as well. But what is the charter or future vision and the work being done to create this? So here we are, we're at the end of 2022. We've had some minor success because we know it comes in small increments. Now it feels like, talking with you guys, there's some good structure there. You've got some good people, some other people off the camera as well, around the place. What's the charter and the vision now moving forward?
I think it's, it is keeping the culture and the sense of community that we've created and trying to be successful on field at the same time and not compromising with our culture and our sense of community. I think it's really important, the space that we've created. We've got a diverse community, we're inclusive, so it's capturing all of that, but trying to get some on-field success, which we've seen with the women's being an undefeated premiership team in 2020. The B grade winning, being in finals for the last 3 seasons, and our A grade being in finals in 2020 and this season as well.
Yep. I actually empathise with you. I played in a team that didn't win a game for a season, well, for 2 years actually, over in country Victoria. So I know what it's like to come from here and to build. But it's also for the coaches, it's very empowering to get these young guys and you see the look in their eyes when you explain a method and they go out and train it 10 times and all of a sudden it works in a game. And we spoke with Dave, you win a moment, all of a sudden you win a quarter, all of a sudden you win a half, and you start winning games, and you guys keep a lid on it because this is where we need to be. But for the players to go, oh wow, how good's this? You have a player that's maybe played 3 or 4 years there. Designing a club of choice. If we took money out of the equation, because I understand at a lot of the lower divisions, you can't go out and pay a lot of players. Why will players come to Flinders Uni? Is it the coaching? Is it the people? Is it the committee? Is it the environment, the safe environment? What is it that will attract people to come to Flinders Uni, apart from having a wow of a time off the field, which we'll come to in a moment?
Yeah, I think realistically it's more that, if people feel like they can achieve something and be part of something and it's going in the right direction, they will come. And doing the work early, as we say in football, doing the work early, like we've secured most of our A-grade team already for next year. We've had countless interviews on the back of, one of the fellas is off the camera there, Dean Schofield, puts in a tower of work as well as everyone else in the club. And Rayfo mainly doing a lot of meetings. So it's more that we educate, we show that we're passionate and that people really want to come, because money's not what we're about. And we're about building men and women. We're about building, successful club, and we want to come and build a successful tradition, which is hopefully going to see us rise up the divisions. That's the main goal, aside from keeping the culture and the passion and everything there, is just to make sure that people feel like they are included, they're welcome, and that we're going somewhere. You don't want to play, you don't want to play for nothing. You want to play to win, and that's what we want to do.
And it becomes, footy's footy, and we get a lot of footy people on committees, but it almost becomes a business model, doesn't it? Okay, let's set our goals. How do we get there? Start with the end in sight with goal setting. It sounds like you guys are all pretty switched on. I'll come to Dave again, because one women's team.
Yep.
Do you train together through the season, pre-season? How does that work?
We did a little bit in early pre-season. I think pre-Christmas and probably 3 or 4 weeks after that.
Yep.
But what we found with the oval, you got the turf pitches, it's hard to, because they're all pegged off, is to find enough space. And with what we were trying to do with skills and set up a sort of game plan for the girls to try and achieve, we needed a bit more space. So we sort of worked on separate nights.
Yep.
And we were able to get a bit more space, a bit more our time, I suppose, to be able to hone skills and really work on the structures we wanted to try and implement.
Sometimes that's required, isn't it? You know, because you can get clouded in trying to get a touch of a footy or whatever it might be.
Yeah, definitely.
The other bit is we came down about 2 years ago, I reckon, pre-COVID, and had a wow of a time. We ran the whole footy show from down there, but do they socialise together?
Yeah, they do.
Hello. Go on.
Well, we do try and have our presentations either at the Marion Hotel or back at the club. It's normally a home gate for the men's home game. We'd come back if we're normally an away game. We try and get all the girls back, as many as possible, so we can all sit together and have a drink and a laugh and talk about hopefully successful wins and games.
All right. Come back to the coaches this time. Probably Rafe, first of all, how do we measure success? There can only be one premiership coach. So if there's 8, 9 teams in Division 7, there's only one team that can win the premiership, and I know every team will be gunning for it, along with you guys. But if we don't make it, how do we measure success? Is it the volume of players we've got? Is it the membership? Is it the fun we've had through the year? Is it the feedback we garner? How do we measure success?
So I guess looking at our goals that we set at the start of the year, in terms of improving training culture, implementing and understanding structures, ball movement, things like that, we measure those little successes individually for players sometimes, just getting feedback and players wanting to gather that information from you about how they get better, just all those little things that add up to the big goal at the end, which is winning a premiership. But just based on, things that we've implemented, just the understanding, the questions being asked by the players, the buy-in. We had a big drive this year on social media where me and Aaron tried to set up little things for the guys to strive for, whether it was stringing 2 wins together, which they hadn't done for a couple of seasons, 3 wins together, just those little types of goals to get them motivated. We try to find something each week. And then off the back of that, just having a good time, and we were strong on belief. I think I mentioned belief probably 100 times this year.
Yep.
Belief in the structures, belief in what you're doing, role playing, being together as a team, and just those little goals. And we started to see that, and especially after the semi-final knockout against Houghton, everyone linked up in the middle, and it wasn't, of course you're disappointed, but it was more, the guys were like, so enthused for 2023 because they could see reward for effort. So all the things that we'd implemented throughout the year, all the effort that had been put in on the training track, got us to that point where we were only 7 points off a prelim. So
I think it's interesting. Football's football.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you're Division 1 or Division 7, and a human's a human. Doesn't matter what level you're playing at. You still have the same learning capabilities. Yeah. Doesn't matter the level. So I'll come across to Aaron again here, and probably Rafe as well. Two important areas, the leadership, and you touched on the feedback using Dartfish, but what do you do in around leadership? Because on game day you're playing, so there's some leadership out on field. Is it a back, a mid and a forward, or is it 2 or 3 guys chain up from different areas? And also the leadership is one part, but then your feedback, as you said, through Dartfish. Do you have meetings? Are the coaches involved in the leadership meetings? How does that work? And also your feedback.
I guess we don't want to be autocratic coaches. We want to have a democratic approach with some autocracy, so a good blend. So there's a certain amount of times where players need to be able to follow the instructions, but there are certain players that are charged with responsibility, leaders in each line. Yep. They will break up into groups in each line and discuss what needs to be done. We do have some leadership meetings occasionally, but it's more that we will have some post-game analysis, and that might be a meeting before training on a Tuesday or on a Thursday, and it's a matter of people being able to get there and understand what we need to correct for the next week. And so, as Rafo said, the little goals, we looked at our squad and we thought, you know what, too many big goals, too confusing. Let's set these goals. Set these for 3-week goals. So we went 3-week goals until we hit our training targets. So it was around training, to, as Ray said, to improve a training culture. At the end, we were hitting 37 blokes on the training track.
I was going to ask that question.
After being, to be quite honest, after being sometimes under 20.
Yep.
And so we try to turn a training culture. And as people could see that the game plan was there and that it did work, so you've got to sell it to a group. You've got to make sure that they understand that there is a purpose for it and there's a why. And the why was because we want to get better and we want to improve. And as people saw things starting to work and click together, the belief started coming a bit more, another word, and they started to have faith. You've got to build a rapport and a relationship with your players.
Yep,
so we worked really hard on that because we didn't know any of the guys, but also that they had to believe in what we were about. And until you see the proof in the pudding, then some people aren't going to get on board with that until they can start seeing it working. And as it started working, more and more people started believing, and they started saying, do you know what, we can be successful. These guys know what they're doing. We believe in them, they believe in us. It's a two-way street and we can make it work. And that's, constantly with recruitment, we were recruiting the whole year.
Yep.
And we're already recruiting. So we don't want to be caught on the hop or on the back foot. We want to make sure we're up and ready to go, doing the work early so that we can be in front of our opposition.
All right, fantastic. Yeah. So it sounds very switched on, and I'm excited. I can't wait for 2023 already because just hearing this, as I said, don't worry about the division. You see a club that's structured correctly and set up wisely, and as you said, recruiting doesn't start now. It's what you've done in the last few months and getting them to the club. I'll come back to Talia. Couple of sponsors. Who have we got? We've got Marion Hotel, is it?
Yeah, they're our major sponsor. Yeah.
Magnificent down there. McGain?
Yes.
So what is McGain?
McGain's a real estate.
Real estate.
One of our life members and past players.
All right. JN and DP Roof Services. What do they do? Roofing?
Roofing, yeah.
And the young man over there doesn't want to say too much, but SCO, there you go. It took me 3 goes. Yes. Design. And I said, what do they do? Timber framed houses?
Yeah, definitely. I think also part of important about our sponsors is they're part of our clubs as well.
Yes.
And that's part of what we like to do at Flinders. We're a close family. I had a baby this season. We were at the club the weekend before I gave birth. We were back at the club the weekend after. So
beautiful baby too. I tickle its feet, baby.
and those are our sponsors are our part of our community as well.
All right. So I'm a player out there. I might be an assistant coach or a line coach out there looking for a club that's going to help me get better. I'm a player that wants to maximise my performance, or I'm a sponsor that wants to get on board with a successful group of people. How do we get in contact? Have we got a website and a phone number? Because we'll put that up on the bottom of the screen for you.
Yeah, we've got social media, and Dean, our football director, he's contactable as well.
All right, we will put all those contact details up. It's been an absolute pleasure. Is there something that we haven't covered that you might want to cover?
I don't know, guys.
Pretty well. We could be here for hours.
Yeah.
Well, we really could
asking questions. But no, fantastic to have you in. As we say, always welcome. We want to know what's happening around the whole league, and Flinders Uni down south, a fair way away for a lot of people, and they say, how does this club operate? You've come in and you've opened up the eyes, and very well run by the sounds of things. We wish you all the best in the future. We know about the past and the present. Now we keep an eye on the future. All the best for 2023 and beyond. And just before we go, you will each get a pair of the magnificent Archie's thongs. We'll go through all the different sizes and give you all a pair there. And we wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nine News teaming up with the Adelaide Footy League. Tom Wren on the ground at your club for Thursday Night Live, strengthening communities through footy.
Welcome back, folks. Well, interesting time now. We're going to look at the team of the year for the men's and the women's.
Yeah.
Correct? Yep. And Sean, just for the viewers out there, it's not an easy task by any means of the imagination. How did you go about coming up with the team?
Yep. Yeah, look, you're right. It's a difficult choice, particularly, in certain positions like the midfield. Every side's got a good midfielder or a good two midfielders. I think there were probably, in the men's team, there were probably 14 or 15 players that picked themselves. So I think if we'd got 10 players or 10 people who knew the competition extremely well, they would have given you the same 14 or 15.
Yep.
And then it comes down to the last 7. So when the two criteria I used were, one, the team that finished highest on the ladder got more in the team than the team that finished bottom.
Yep, fair enough.
And that's the way it should be. And then secondly, if there was any doubt, I rang the coaches.
Yeah.
And I spoke to the coaches because they see them week in, week out, and said, look, I'm trying to decide between this player and this player who should be in. And so that's basically how we picked the team. And let's have a look at it, eh?
And I think it's important for people out there to understand, and you won't say it, but I will. You've been the state coach. You've 29 years of coaching. You know your players back to front as well. So, and then to also run it by the other coaches. So there's a fair bit of knowledge out there, and it's a pretty high esteem to be selected in that team of the year. So where are we going to start?
Yeah, well, I don't take the task lightheartedly. I think it's a real honour to be selected in the Adelaide Football League Team of the Year. So I think we should give due consideration. And yeah, you're right. There'll always be this bloke versus this bloke. There'll always be those discussions, and that's the great thing about our game. But I think we've come up with a pretty balanced side, and we've rewarded guys who had consistent years across the year. So from the forward line, Will Abbott from Old Ignatians had a terrific year. Jock McLeay, unfortunately for Old Iggy's, he's leaving, going to Queensland next year, so they'll lose him. Jock McLeay from St Peter's, leading goal kicker. Nick Burgess, I think, might have been second in the goal kickers from Goodwood Saints. So that's the full forward line.
Yep.
Ryan Spittle back into the competition this year with Tea Tree Gully, had a terrific year. Gavin Shepherd, I think, has been a good, consistent player for Port Districts for a long time, and I think he's an integral part of their success. Jason Niskahoos, well, we spoke to Craig, the president, and he mentioned Jason Niskahoos, so I think they'd be pleased to have him back in the side after a few years out with injury.
Mentioned him a lot this year.
Yeah.
A lot. He came up through the season as well. So, yeah, our centre line.
He's got a good year. So Timmy Bacanel has probably been the outstanding player for Ross Trevor this year. Nick Favretto picks himself in the middle. He's won the medal. And Michael McMahon from Glenunga, he could have played in a few different positions. He kicked quite a few goals. But we end up selecting him on the wing, where he's played a lot of his footy this year.
Half-back line, mate?
Yeah, well, once again, the two half-back flankers pick themselves, Hayden Jolly and Chris Curran from Prince Alfred. Both had very good years. Jarman Cigar was a new player. We picked him in the team of the year at the halfway mark. Very good reader of the play behind the ball, and he's done a great job for Brighton this year. And the full-back line is...
well, I'm interested. I saw that was a great interview, by the way, last week. Very funny, but probably for you serious. But you did have the top on as well. But how'd you pick between the Gaffneys?
I think Cooper's been the outstanding one. He polled extremely well in the medal, second or third in the medal. Tyler Martin from Tea Tree Gully is a relatively new player to the competition. Served his apprenticeship at Norwood, played some reserves footy out there, and according to Alex McKay, the coach, has very rarely been beaten all year, so well done to Tyler. And Brad McKenzie is the only representative from Payneham, and Missed a few games late in the year with injury, but up until then was exceptional.
Right. Let's look at our rucks
and
followers.
Yeah, Tom Carter's probably been the best ruckman in the competition for several years now, so he picked himself. Nigel Osborne came second or third in the medal again, having won it last year or the year before from Brighton. And Sam Gray, well, what a fantastic year he's had, and the most credentialed player in the competition in terms of AFL football. Interchange. Jack Trengove. A little bit stiff Lockie McNamara.
You wouldn't see Jack Trengove on interchange, but he did miss some games this year.
Yeah, missed
so
it.
That's why I'm
started a bit slowly, but Lockie McNamara a little bit stiff there. Alex Haran, the captain of Glenunga.
Yep.
Another good year. Jesse O'Brien, slow start, sensational finish. And James Hargraves will probably win the best and fairest at St Peter's Old Collegians.
Okay. Yep.
And he tops off the interchange bench. And from the coaches of the year, well, Josh Ramsey, it's got to be picked now. From Port Districts, I didn't have any selection in the coaches, so I'll hold no responsibility for that, but I would agree with Josh Ramsey from Port Districts, and Nathan Grimer's done an equally terrific job at Glenunga. You could also argue Craig Pitt at Prince Alfred, I would have thought would be a mention there. So that is it. Congratulations to all those players selected, and hard luck to those who missed out.
Fantastic, Sean. Let's move across to the women's. And how were the women selected, and who are they, please?
Yeah, I think the women's team was selected from a representative across the coaching group.
Fantastic.
Full forward line, Brianna Walling from Morphy Parks, Millie McCarthy at full forward from Old Iggy's, and Remy Grant, the vice-captain from Smosh. Half forward line was Lindsay Bigg from Morphy Parks, Kiana Lee from Smosh, and Alana Rochow from Happy Valley. Centre line was Lily Fontini Gambranis from Old Ignatians, Mattia Breed from Paynham Norwood Union, and Charlotte Dolan from Smosh West Lakes. Half back line, Bessie Barrett from Happy Valley, Nicolette Dunn from Morphy Parks, and Tegan Usher from Smosh West Lakes. Fullbacks, Tess Morecambe from Morphy Parks as the captain, Jess Meechan from Paynham, and Rain Riverland from Happy Valley. The rucks, Celestina Donna from Morphy Parks, we had her in early in the year, or late in the year I should say, yes. Mm-hmm. Tabitha Saville from Adelaide Uni, and Elaine Grigg from Broadview. The interchange was Demila Totham from Paynham Norwood Union, Astrid Gooley from Smosh West Lakes, Madeline Green from Happy Valley, and Charlotte Spence from Broadview. And the coach was the Premiership coach Brad Day from Smosh West Lakes, with Brad Farrell from Morfoot Park as his assistant.
Very well done, Sean. All right, well, we shall move on to the next segment very shortly, folks.
But Mahuta goes all the way. Where again, Mahuta?
Good grab by Anjana, then Crone late. It's Anjana the Grey. Anjana.
Hillholders went home best. Life on the wire, Twitchy Frank. Classic legend, Wild Planet kicking back, Crone dashing through, will beat the lot of them, Crone!
Larfalay's coming out, and they reach the line, nearly a dead heat.
But this is speedy and professional. Profiteer for Mickey D is going to win easily.
Ed and continued to open them up late and won very impressively.
Well, thanks for tuning in, folks, and we're coming up to the final moments of the penultimate show, Sean. And, of course, folks, we're going to have a look now at our top 5 goals and marks as adjudicated through the year. And next week, in our big grand final show, we will have the winners. The Division 1 awards as well, Sean, from Saturday?
Yeah, so we gave the best on ground to Jack Trengove, yes. Yeah. I think he won the Archie Thongs.
Did he get another beanie?
Yes, he did get another beanie.
One for every day.
He has got a fair collection. And the Moseley team player of the day went to Will Dowd, also from Prince Alfred Old Collegians. So well done to those two.
Yes, and I spoke last week about 3 things happen in the heat. You were away, bees pollinate.
Saw that.
Coaches roundabout. And finals are here. Well, they are here well and truly. So just on the coaches, best wishes to those moving aside or that may have been pushed or stepped aside of their own fruition. But I haven't noticed a couple. Colonel Light Gardens, Steve Zweck, has stepped back in, the premiership coach from Lockleys a couple of seasons back.
Good to see. Good coach.
So we'll get him in. Well done, Steve. Congratulations.
Reigning premiership coach at Lockleys.
Why would you do it? No, good on him. Yes. Good on him. And also Gazer have appointed Chris Radetti. Now, Chris Radetti from Athelston, 280 games at Gazer, premiership. He was the captain. He's been in the Adelaide Football League team 6 times, team of the year. And also a quick mention to Jed Greer has stepped up from the C grade to the B grade. Great young lad, Jed. Chook's son. Met him a couple of years ago, and he's a fantastic young lad, and he'll help lead that team. He's been the C grade coach for 3 years. And another great guy down there, Morris Capani, is the C grade. He's a past player. I met Maury a couple of seasons back. He would go head over heels to help anyone out with whatever you needed a hand with. Great guy. So I think they're in a good position, Gazer, with their coaching appointments. Now they've just got to get some wins.
Yes, that always helps.
That is the news from my side, Sean, at this point.
What of any rumours of any new jobs? I'll tell you, I've got a rumour.
Oh, okay.
Richie Douglas to coach St Peter's Old Collegians, ex-Crows and Nord player. Don't think it's been announced yet. But
Has he ever coached before? No, he was the under-18 assistant coach.
Coach of Simon Black Football Academy.
Yeah, he might know his way around a bit.
I think he'll be okay. Yes, if he gets
very good. Wow.
What else have we got for you? Well, I'll tell you what else we've got for you. There is a fair bit happening at head office tonight, a board meeting, where I believe that John Kernahan and the staff there are trying to get another 1.5 positions next year filled, because they were not able to handle the extra workload generated by having to fight so many legal battles. So there's going to be an extra impost to all the clubs. So it's all well and good that we challenge the league and all that sort of stuff, but you've got to understand the ramifications, and this is the ramification. There will be an extra cost to the league to run its staff next year so that they can handle those matters. So the calls will have to go up.
Administration. How do you get a half a person though? I've been called a half wit.
Yes.
Is that the same thing?
I'm assuming it's a 2.5 day week roll.
Yeah, fair call. Interested? Let's stick with this, mate.
Phone's always on, Tone, you know that.
Oh, dude. That's good though, Sean, and it's interesting to understand that the league just doesn't roll on and just happen, does it? It takes a lot of hard work behind the scenes just to get things up and going.
Any other advice, Tone, for any clubs out there?
No.
I've got a little bit of advice.
Go on.
If you're going out celebrating your Mad Monday or your Mad Sunday, as your season winds down, try to keep a lid on it. There's a club at the moment that's going through a little bit of turmoil on the back of their Mad Monday celebrations. So look after each other out there. We saw the pictures of the Western Bulldogs, didn't we? It didn't look great. One of their players was out cold. So look after each other out there.
Wouldn't be on his pat alone, but that's true though. Be sensible. You have a wind up, but just be sensible.
Have a bit of water in the day somewhere.
Broadcast game this week.
The ultimate game of the season, isn't it? Port Districts.
Yeah.
The working man. We mentioned this in the interview with Craig, that 10 of their players are Wolfies.
Yep.
10.
And did you read about...
That's a lot, isn't it?
How they used to work in the old days. 50 kilos up a thing. Now they all just press buttons and that. But you can see the builds on them. Imagine back then,
some of those buttons are heavy.
So big thumbs.
The Wolfies up against the Spooners from Prince Alfred Old Collegians. Promised to be a ripping game.
All right, we'd also like to thank all of our guests that came in tonight. They've all got the magnificent Archie songs. We remembered this week to give them all a pair of Archie songs. So we thank all of our guests through all the different divisions. Of course, you can find us on social media. I think Phil's still doing his wrap-up as well. So
loving it.
We're all across social media.
One show to go.
That's it. Thanks for viewing. You can come on, I'll wind you up, Sean. What's
just
the big
remember,
quote?
Wherever you may be this week and you start having a crack,
Come on,
just
mate.
remember, make all your shots go straight between the posts.